would you say is the main thing that keeps you motivated?
When it comes to fitness and training, I would say it's not really a motivation anymore. It's now become a passion. When I started training and exercising when I was in my teens, it was because I wanted change. I wanted to see change in myself and my body. I was always known as Little Sam, and I didn't want to be Little Sam anymore. I wanted to be Bigger Sam. I was never really necessarily sporty in the most conventional sports, being like football and things like that. So more skateboarding, snowboarding, rollerblading, those sorts of things. So necessarily I wasn't seen as like the fittest either. But over the years, by staying consistent, I've now become really passionate when it comes to fitness and training. So therefore, it's not necessarily motivated. It's a hobby. It's the only hobby that I've really got. And I enjoy it so much that I decided to work in the fitness industry. When it comes to business and career, I stay motivated by the want to succeed, and to set example, lead by example. I've always, whatever role I've done, no matter how small that might be, I've always wanted to be the best at it. I don't like being mediocre. I don't like being the bottom third. I like to be top third.
Top 1%.
Top 1%. I like to be top 1%. And that's what keeps me motivated. But also, I don't put a cap on success. So, for instance, someone might say, you're doing really well, or you've done really well. And I agree, I've probably done quite well, but there's still somewhere to go with that. I can't really, me personally, I can't just cap it and be like, okay, well that's that then. Yeah. I need to have progression. I need to have a next step, something moving forward, something bigger and better. And I guess that's what keeps me motivated when it comes to business and career. I think I'd struggle mentally if I was capped somewhere, and I was like, okay, well, where do I go now? What do I do now? And I think at that point, if I was at that stage, I'd be like, right, okay, well, it's on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to sit in that position for very long.
I think we're very similar in that mindset that we set a goal, and when we get to it, we're like, what's next?
Yeah. I'm saying, I've got to keep it moving. Can't stay static for too long. And whatever we do, we've got to be good at it. And I think that's self-pride as well, self-respect. You know, I think probably because we've both been doubted previously is a big thing. And I think that, I know that for sure definitely drives me.
Yeah.
Kind of a, well, I'll show you mentality.
Yeah.
And I've not always had that. It's come throughout years when I've proven to myself that I'm capable of doing great things. So it's not necessarily that was instilled in me through my upbringing. I had to prove that to myself that I could do that and believe it.
Tell me about, on that journey, when you've set yourself a goal and you're trying to get towards that and you doubt yourself, because you said there's people that have doubted me before, I want to raise the bar, I want to reach the next best thing. When you've had that overcoming feeling of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, how do you get beyond that?
I guess every day, no matter what situation I'm in, I wake up and I think, right, whatever's going to happen today, I'll just give it my best. And I say this to you all the time, is I'm fine until I'm not, and then I deal with it. So, although I might know something's going to be challenging, and I haven't really got a massive amount of belief in myself for whatever's coming that day, or I think to myself, listen, I'm fine until I'm not, and then I'm just going to deal with it. I think for me personally, life's thrown a lot in my direction, and I've always come out the other end. Maybe not unscathed, but I've always survived and come out. And that drives me, and that helps me overcome, those moments where I think, right, well, can I do this? And is this me? And have I got it in me? Or have I got the ability? Have I got the knowledge to actually do whatever it is I've set myself out to do? Or it might be that somebody else previously has set out for me to do in previous roles. So
I think it's always about looking for that evidence as well, isn't it? To challenge that doubt, to say, if you look back at those challenging times that you've overcome and to say, well, I've got through that, so I can do this, and to try and look for those examples of where you didn't think it was possible and you've come out the other side and you've taken those baby steps and you've ended up with a good result. Why should now be any different?
Yeah, and we've had this conversation a lot of times. It's building competence that builds confidence. So just do it over and over again. And I think throughout my many careers, especially in the military, it was the case of I had to just do things over and over again to show myself and show others that I'm here to stay, I'm here to do it, and I'm not here to be the bottom third. I'm here to compete for, being at the top.
You were giving me the example of in the military where everybody said you were not a runner.
I'm not a runner,
and you did not believe that you were a runner until you were a runner.
Yeah, exactly. And that stems from my upbringing. Having an older brother that was fitter and taller and skinnier legs, and I was always going, well, Sam's not a runner. Sam's short and stocky. And I went into the military, into the army, believing that I'm not a runner. And I wasn't. I made the mistake of training to pass selection, not training to be more than ready to go to depot and go through phase 1 and phase 2 training. And throughout that time, I just had to beat myself up and run. I had to run and run and run and run. And I joined later on in life, so I picked up injuries more than others, and I didn't bounce and bend, I break. So tackling injuries and stuff, but I just had to hit the tarmac and get out running as much as possible until I got to a point where I could actually hold my own and not be sat at the back of the pack. And I still wouldn't class myself as a runner because I worked with some of the fittest athletes in the world in the military. But I got to a point where I could hold my own. But also, everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, and you focus on your weaknesses, but your strengths come in handy in a team. And when I think that was recognised, and we always recognise that in the teams, that everybody had their strengths and weaknesses, horses for courses. Certain people did better at certain job roles than others. So you all played a part. So it wasn't necessarily, he's a shit runner or he's a bad runner. It was more like, that might not be his strength, but he's got other strengths. I think as long as you don't ignore your weaknesses, but you recognise your strengths, that's really important.
Yeah. So talk to me about your values and how they've led to the idea of this business or the concept of this business.
Okay. So in all honesty, when we had this conversation previously about values, I didn't really recognise or completely understand my own values. Until we had that discussion about it, because obviously in the army, your values are instilled in you from day dot, and that is what you live by and work by. So whether you're in uniform or out of uniform, they're there, and that's how you live your life. But there's other values, I guess, excuse me, that I have that motivate me, so service to others. And that's a big driving force as to why I'm already working in the fitness industry as personal trainer and online coach. I like to help people, I like to see people succeed, and if I can bring some positivity to people's lives through fitness and training, whether that be physical health, mental health, just overall well-being, then that is something I'm passionate about. Then I also am driven by leadership, and if I can lead people into doing something that's better for them, and I can lead by example, and I can motivate others by doing the hard things day in, day out. I think that's what drives me into doing this. You know, we don't just talk about it, me and you. We do it day in, day out.
Yeah. 100%.
And, you know, when I have conversations, and we've spoken about this with members of the gym, clients that potentially are going to be working in the fitness industry, you know, later on down the line, when I'm having to coach them, mentor them, it's a case of lead by example. Don't just tell people how to do the hard things. Do the hard things yourself day in, day out. Nobody's perfect, don't get me wrong, but I think that's what drives me to set up this business as well, and to be raw and open with it, and show more of what we do day in, day out, just to show other people, listen, we're not just preaching it here, we're not just saying it for the sake of it, we're living it, we're doing it. You know, we're holding down jobs, careers, running businesses, we've got families, we've got children to look after, you know, we've got dogs to walk, we've got cleaning to get done, you know, and we're still going to train regularly, you know, and that's every single week, no excuses. It's solutions, not excuses. And I think that's what drives me to do this and help other people, and just lead from the front and lead by example, and give people something to work towards, knowing that it's going to better them long term, not short term, long term.
I think I can see as well when people have not reached the stage and the mindset that we're in the fact that we're living it, because I get messages all the time saying, how do you do it all? You're like Superwoman. I can't believe how you pull it all in. And for me, I sit there and think, this is not a big deal. This is my routine. This is my life. But to them, it seems so out of reach because they've not established the habits yet. They don't want it enough. They don't understand why they want it. So it isn't that routine that they've set out for themselves. And I think for me, it's an amazing feeling to support other people, to intertwine that routine as part of their everyday life, so they can too feel like it's possible.
And to find what we have. Because we recognise what we have. It's not easy day in, day out trying to schedule these things and fit them in. But it's rewarding. Physically, mentally, we've had this conversation when we're setting an example to the kids, and the kids are growing up seeing us doing it. So when they grow up, it's the norm. Routine isn't that they have a takeaway twice a week and that they just sit on the sofa watching TV, and that seeing somebody run down the road is, oh, what are they doing? It's weird. No, we're out, you know. We're out walking the dogs twice a day. We're out running. We're in the gym. Kids are saying, I want protein. What is that protein? Is this protein?
Is this protein Weetabix, Mum? Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, that it's if we can give other people that, and help them get to that stage, and recognise that it's not hard work. Well, it is sometimes, but it's not seen as hard work. It's seen as just, we benefit from that. The benefits outweigh the graft we put in. The early mornings, the late nights, the meal prep, you know, the trying to run around and fit training in. You know, how many times you like, right, well, I haven't got time to get this session in because I need to get back and wash my hair before going to this meeting. And it's just like, well, tough luck, I've got to suck it up, and I've just got to, that might be the plan, but actually I'm going to have to do something completely different just to make sure I get my workout in. There's no excuses, it's solutions.
Like a tender meeting with greasy hair.
And building that, like you said, people, I think they've struggled to fathom and understand how we do it. And it doesn't come easy, and it didn't come easy. And it's a case of just doing the hard things over and over again until the hard things become easy
Yeah.
and becomes habit and routine.
A life coach once said to me, there's a reason why on an aeroplane you have to fit your own oxygen mask before you help other people, and it was because you can't help other people if you don't help yourself first. And I think some people might think it's actually quite selfish to put your training and your well-being and your lifestyle before your families, before your friends, before your partner. But actually, to me, that's the most important thing, because if I don't do that, I'm not in the best place to be the best person for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And I say this to people all the time. You know, it's not selfish to take 4 or 5 hours out of the week to work on your fitness. You know, to work on your health, to increase the lifespan and reduce risk of injuries and diseases and whatever else. You know, it's the least selfish thing you can do.
Yeah.
Making sure you're doing what you can to be on this planet as long as possible for your loved ones, but also to make sure that, you know, we get one body. That's it. One body that carries us around for our entire life, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that body is as strong and fit as possible. Can keep going. It can go and earn money. It can care for. It can look after. It can provide. You know, and it can be there for whoever might need us in whatever role they might need us.
Yeah.
And for instance, I think for me, somewhat, if not a big part of it nowadays, with having children and a family, it's my body is the protector. You know, so the body needs to be able to be capable of protecting. So staying fit and staying strong and staying active allows me to carry out that role and be the protector. What is the main thing that keeps you motivated?
I think for me, I've got to enjoy something, and I've got to have a sense of accomplishment. I think I've battled this recently, and this is probably an example of how I've overcome motivation setback, in that I kind of lost my vibe for the gym a little bit, because I was forever doing the same routine, chasing the same weights, being in a calorie deficit and feeling like I wasn't really getting anywhere. I think going back to when I started CrossFit, the reason that I got so much enjoyment out of that was the challenge and the enjoyment aspect of it. So there's a lot of skill work in CrossFit. It's all about technique. So within sessions, it wasn't always about chasing the next weight up. It was about learning the technique and the skill to be able to do a kipping pull-up or a butterfly pull-up or something like that. So this week, to overcome that motivation setback, I've just gone into the gym with a plan of, well, probably not even much of a plan, to be honest, just thinking I'm actually going to do something that I fancy, just something that I fancy doing. And to me, that's what helped me get back in the gym when I was feeling kind of quite opposed to it. So I think sense of accomplishment, so always aiming for progressive overload, a PB, aesthetic changes, but most of all is just finding something that you enjoy. And I think for anyone who's starting out in the fitness journey, I think that's the thing, people need to go back to something they enjoy. I had a conversation with a coaching client once, and she said, I want to raise something to some money for charity, and I'm going to do a 5k run. And then in the next sentence she said, I hate running. I said, why have you set yourself a challenge of doing a 5k run? You hate running. Like, this is setting you up to fail. And at the end of that coaching session, we got to a different place where it might have been like, you know, they do like the moonlight walks where they trek in the dark and that sort of thing. And she was like, oh yeah, actually, you know, I'd probably enjoy that because I could have a conversation with my mate while I was doing it and listen to some music and do something that I enjoy. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So I think sometimes people set themselves goals for the wrong reasons, and it's not always based on what their preferences are. And I think that's a perfect example of setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah. And touching on, obviously, enjoying what you're doing, getting some sense of achievement and fulfillment out of that, I think it's important to touch on that, because we're asking each other what keeps us motivated, but we're not always motivated.
Yeah.
We can't wake up every single day
Oh God, no.
motivated to go and put an hour or so of hard graft in the gym that's going to be painful and ultimately difficult. But we're disciplined to keep on going. And I think something I do when I'm really struggling with the motivation is I think, right, I'm just going to pick like 5 or 6 exercises that I really enjoy doing. And I'm just going to go in there saying no expectations and give whatever my 100% that day looks like on those exercises I really enjoy. When that motivation comes back, full force, then I pick up doing the exercises that I don't enjoy doing so much.
Yeah.
That I know I need to do. I recognise they're important. I've got to do them. They're just not my favourites.
Yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head there as well, because if you always do the same things, you always compare yourself to your last performance. And I think mentally, when you haven't got that motivation, it's actually quite demoralising.
Yeah.
So for me to go in and know that I've deadlifted 100 the week before and I'm aiming for 105 and I can't do it, I'm like, well, this is crap, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I've had enough. Whereas if I completely mix that up and do something that I don't do as part of my programme, then I haven't got any expectation of myself. So whatever I do makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about this the other day, where you were saying, you know, if a client comes in and they've had a really rubbish day at work, they seem stressed, I will instantly change what I have planned for them, because I don't want to batter them. I don't want to make them feel worse than they already do. I'm going to pick exercises that I know that they're good at, that I know that they enjoy, because they're going to leave here feeling a million times better than they did when they came in.
100%. What you said there is, if you know, you're going to be able to compare to what you've done previously. There's an age-old saying, if comparison's a thief of joy. And if we're continuously comparing ourselves to what we had done previously, it can take away that enjoyment from it. So, and this happens to me regularly. And I'll walk out of the gym and my immediate response to what I think is a bad session is, that was shocking. And I'm in a bad mood. And you've
I
seen
was
it.
there.
Yeah, you've
Dummy
seen it.
Dummy was out of the pram last week.
Yeah, exactly. You've seen it. But what I do is I self-evaluate. You know, I reflect on what I've done. I self-evaluate. And that might take me an hour or so to do so. But when I look back at it, I'm like, okay, well, actually, it wasn't horrendous. Because what would have been horrendous would have me being sat on my arse on the sofa, stuffing my face full of crisps or whatever, and not getting any movement in that day. So whatever I did in that gym was 100 times better than if I hadn't gone at all.
Yeah.
So therefore, it was an achievement. Because all we can ever do and ask of any of our clients is to give whatever 100% looks like on that day. On that day. Because 100% for me, some days, I can feel like a superhero. And then other days, I can just got nothing left. We say all the time, I've got nothing left.
Ian Beale levels of nothing left.
And yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We've both had days from hell and work. You know, I can go in on a Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. after having 5 hours sleep and have like 11 hours of PTs over a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
And not have chance to get my own training, or the only time I'm going to get training that week is I've got to get something on the Tuesday, otherwise I'm not going to get enough sessions in. So then I'm having to put a session in that day as well. And I've known full well I'm going to feel like absolute rubbish. But it's a case of just ticking the box off, getting it done, doing the hard things, and becoming comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about coming out of the gym and reflecting when you've had a bad session and you've chucked your dummy out.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's really hard to do that because you feel so defeated. And we were having that conversation probably for well over an hour after the gym, and I was saying, you know, recognise the wins, you've got there, you've done something, but to you in that moment, there was no rationalising that.
Yeah.
So, and I think for me, something that I've learned to do, and I used to hate it when people used to suggest to me that I journaled. I was like, journaling, it's like this fad at the minute that everyone's doing. But I think for me, as I've started to practice what I preach, I think it's journaling has got its place for actually allowing you to sit down, be present with your thoughts and your feelings, but actually giving yourself an opportunity in that example of, I feel defeated, I've had a crap session.
Yeah.
What actually was good in that session? And you've got to pick 3 things as little or as big as they are,
Yeah.
as little as they might seem, to recognise the positives. What could I do better? And it might be, in future, Tuesday's not a great day for me to train because I've not had enough sleep and I need to recover. But I think, taking that time to take a step back and actually properly reflect, as opposed to just kind of trying to mull that through in the moment when you are probably feeling quite defeated and emotional, I think for me is really powerful.
100%. And I advise clients to do this as well. And it, as you know, it can be prompted, journaling or self-led. But I always ask my clients, like, if you don't want to do it every single day, it's fine. But do it a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
Don't just leave it a whole week or 2 weeks, because you're not going to be able to remember everything. So try and do it as regular as they're comfortable doing it. But this isn't always, I think we're obviously talking about it in a fitness and training environment right now, but actually even in business and career and personal relationships, being able to evaluate what went wrong, where it went wrong, how it went wrong, how could we personally impact that and change that, or at least what were the external factors, have we got any control over those? No. Okay, what have we got control over? But always recognising what went well and how we can continue that going well every time. How can we pull that forward into the following week to ensure progress? In every aspect and area of life.
I think life is so busy that obviously day to day, week to week, you don't actually have that time to do that unless you intentionally make time to do that. And for me, when I've had difficult conversations at work and I've been replaying that over and over in my mind, thinking, have I done something wrong? Did I say something out of place? Why did that person react to me like that? I've not had chance to actually process that and think until I've sat down and journaled about it. And it might be breaking down those beliefs that potentially are wrong. So me thinking, have I done something wrong? Actually, it could be that person's just having a bad day. Or it could be that person didn't mean it to come across the way that it did, but I've just been particularly sensitive that day. And like you said, writing down what went well and what learning you can take from it, so when that situation comes up again, it doesn't replay in the same way.
Exactly. We don't always have to be taught these things. We can actually work these things out for ourselves if we just take the time to process those thoughts, sometimes put it down on paper, jot it down and looking at it and evaluating. And I think anybody that can self-evaluate is going to go much further than the people that can't or don't like to or don't bother to. Because we are always our own harshest critics as well. We're always going to be the harshest on ourselves. I think that's for the majority of people. So nobody's going to say it to you like you do. I mean, that's definitely for my case. I know it's the same for you. So no one's going to call me the same names I call myself. So if I can do it and I can really hammer in on myself and be like, right, that's not good enough, that's not acceptable, that didn't go well, what can you do different? But I also think it's important to be able to recognise, okay, right, actually, you're doing well, and continue to do that. Don't let that slip now. Which brings me on to another point of holding those high standards and setting standards for ourselves. I know this might not be exactly in line with this, but staying motivated is setting standards for yourself. And if you set standards for yourself that you aren't willing to drop, then that keeps you motivated. Because you're just not willing to accept anything less from yourself than that. And if you can regularly perform better than that in career, relationships, parenthood, training, then you set that standard higher again and continue to meet that mark as often as you possibly can, and that helps you stay motivated.
I had a life coaching session once, and I started to talk about myself quite negatively. I think I spoke to you about this after, in the sense that I was saying that I think it's flawed because I have such high expectations of myself, and I always have to be organised, and I always have to feel like I'm in control. And actually, at the end of that coaching session, after having the right questioning around my thought processes, I started to realise that actually the reason that I'm in the position I'm in today, the reason why I've been so successful in my career, the reason why I succeed in my fitness goals and in the gym, is because I have high expectations of myself, and nothing less will do. and I like to forward plan. I like to organise. That means I might look a month in advance. It might mean that I'm talking to you about Christmas.
Yeah.
But actually, everything works out for the best because I am that forward thinker.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what we're on about. This conversation between both of us, because you are very much a forward planner, and obviously I am not so much, because a large chunk of my life was being planned for me by the military and the army. So therefore, I didn't really forward plan so much, because it was like, well, they're deciding when I'm on leave, they're deciding where I'm going, how long for, and what I'm doing, and what I'm packing, and the rest of it. So.
But I think as well, like how powerful that I had that life coaching session and then was able to come home and talk to you about it and say, these are conversations I've had. I feel like these things are like probably getting on your nerves because I'm always overthinking, I'm always forward planning. You're quite the opposite, but actually I find that very difficult. And actually what came out of that was that you were like, this is why I never plan. And I was like, this is why I do. And it opened up that conversation for us to be like, right, okay, so what do we do? Because we're at the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of how organised, forward planning we are, etc. And we've now got a shared calendar up on the wall. We've now got a joint diary. We've got things, we're talking about the future, and we've met somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and it works for both of us. A lot of the time, me just saying, plan whatever you want, and I'll be there.
Plan what you want and tell me to be there.
Yeah.
I might show up, I might not.
Talk to me about how the concept of this business has come about.
Okay, so we were talking about your long-term business plan.
Yeah.
I think, and we won't let that out of the bag right now because that's a few years down the line. But we were just saying how nice it would be to build something together.
Yeah.
And I think with your personal training experience, with your military background, and I've got about 5 years experience as a personal trainer, 3 as a life coach. We started to say, let's set up an online coaching business together, personal training. Great, we can do that together. We can work from home. We had this big vision of us kind of like working together and, building something together. And then over the last few weeks, I think the concept's developed and we've kind of started to recognise the skills that I've got and that you've got and how they support each other so well, complement each other so well. We were also having a conversation, weren't we, about the links between physical and mental resilience.
100%.
You've got to have a certain level of mental resilience to be able to put yourself in the pits in the gym every day and push yourself to failure. And likewise, that physical fitness supports you with so much kind of mental resilience in terms of your stress levels, your confidence, your overall well-being. So we saw an opportunity there, and we were like, these two things complement each other so well, and it isn't something that anybody else is offering from what I've seen anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a small number of people that do it in the wider fitness industry. What I do think is there's a lot of people that offer this life coaching that actually haven't got the life coaching qualifications or the actual experience of just being a life coach.
Yeah.
So therefore, take out the personal training and just the life coaching alone haven't done it.
Yeah.
They might have stepped into that through being an online coach or a personal trainer and then work their way into that or expanded it that way, or just kind of over time become that. But actually, the majority of your life coaching sessions are purely outside of fitness.
Yeah.
It's actually about life, career, personal relationships, family life, all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's where this differs slightly, or even quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I also think this came about, and it's not in recognising really there's a gap in the market, because we didn't look. Originally, that wasn't the first thing we did.
We've not looked to see what the competitors are doing. We just said, you've got these skills, I've got these skills, I'm passionate about this, you're passionate about that. This makes perfect sense.
100%. And I think we're not jealous people, to say the least. I think we're always rooting for others. You know, we're always rooting for others, and we'll put time and effort into other people over and over again, off our own backs. And I think that's where this come from. It's actually, yeah, we'd love to work together, spend some extra time together, and build something together, which is fantastic and really exciting. But how can we best help other people while we do it?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the most rewarding, you know. And I've had this conversation with friends right now about, you know, when I'm talking to them about this, because, you know, I'm excited about it. I'm like, oh, we're doing this, and you know, the great thing about it is that neither one of us are doing it for the financial gain.
Yeah.
Like, that isn't the sole focus, and I think that's what's exciting and that's what's special.
Yeah.
Because the earning isn't the necessity. So we're not driven by the fact that we need to earn this much money, the business needs to make this much. It's how can we help people,
Yeah.
and how excited do we get every time we think of something else. And as the idea is expanded to what it is and where it is now, and none of it has been driven by finance and money.
Yeah.
It's literally...
I think as well that in itself is what will give us the edge.
Yeah.
Because the motivator behind this is not extrinsic. It isn't financial reward. That fizzles out very quickly. You have a bad month financially and you're like, I'm off. Like, this is not working. Why did I start? And you start to doubt yourself and you sack it off. When your motivator is intrinsic and it is enjoyment, service to others, accomplishment, integrity, they're the things that keep you going regardless of whether you think you're winning or you're losing.
Yeah.
If you're helping one person to overcome setbacks, to change their mindset to a growth mindset, to improve their resilience, you've won.
Exactly, 100%. And that's what drives this, and being able to do that together.
Yeah.
Because knowing that the two of us working together is a better force to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, personal trainers coach, don't they? Anyone can ask a question. Anyone can ask questions to get somebody to think a bit differently. But supporting somebody in the sense of, like you said, from a holistic approach in terms of looking at what their whole life looks like, that might be personal relationships, career development, finances, I think puts that person in a much stronger position to achieving, you know, all of those areas.
Yeah.
And I witnessed life coaching for the first time probably about 15 years ago when I was working in a secondary school with young people that had got behavioural difficulties. And it was always a telling approach. The teachers tell them off, the pastoral support tell them off, tell them what to do, tell them how they should behave, and nothing ever changed. And we had these life coaches come in and deliver this resilience for young people life coaching session. And I started to change my approach in the way that I was dealing with these kids that were really challenging, and started to ask them questions about, you know, what were the benefits of your behaviour? What could you have done differently? What would the outcome have been? And I was honestly gobsmacked at the difference that I saw in these kids' behaviours. When they were outside of the classroom because they'd been sent out, they were actually thinking about the repercussions on their education, on what they were gaining, on, you know, and started to behave differently. And that's where I first found my passion for coaching from. I always wanted to do a coaching qualification. It just took a while for the right time to come. But, you know, I've coached a lot of people, mainly around personal training, fitness, but also career development. And changing people's perceptions and opening their mind is absolutely like astonishing to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, somebody that comes into a coaching session and says, I want to progress in my career, but the job market's dead, there's no jobs there. Right, what does career progression actually mean? And getting them to rethink how they perceive career development, and actually them thinking about preparing for when the job market isn't so stale, and where are my opportunities, where are my weaknesses, what can I do to strengthen those weaknesses so I'm in a better place when those opportunities arise. And lo and behold, in less than a year, somebody that I coached had got a promotion. It was amazing to watch.
And seeing that change is, I think it's very unfortunate for people that haven't been in our position to be able to help see people and witness life change for somebody from the input you've had.
Yeah.
And when that happens, as a coach, that in itself is enough to drive you to continue to do it and to help more people.
You have nights now where you get into bed, it's 11 o'clock, and you have a message off a client who says, like, they've achieved something, or, just done this, I'm so proud of myself. And that's the smile that it puts on your face and the smile that it puts on mine. I'm like, that is amazing. And that's enough to get you to keep getting up in the morning.
Yeah. And it happened in the gym this past week, and I was training about to start training with my long-term client Charlotte, and I just finished PT session with one of the other clients, and Charlotte had never met this client, never seen her, first time ever conversating, and the client I just had a PT session with just started complimenting Charlotte and just telling her how much of an inspiration and influence she's been and the motivator she has been for her. And she was like, well, where's this person come from? and obviously Charlotte was like, well, thank you very much, and great. And Charlotte was like, makes her emotional, knowing that her journey has had that impact on somebody else. For me as the coach, seeing that, but my input has changed Charlotte's life, but also somebody else witnessing and seeing that is now being motivated to change their life as well. So if you're in a coaching role, the impact you can have can snowball.
It's the ripple effect.
Exactly. So you put the effort and time into somebody, and you really care about what this person's doing and how they're going to benefit from your coaching, because that's a big thing about caring about that person and their results. And then seeing that then snowball and ripple into the next person. Yeah. And it's like, great, fantastic. And I think, for me personally, that's great, even if that person that has been motivated or inspired goes to a different coach. Yeah. I don't care. Fine. But as long as that has inspired them to make change in their own life. I think people underestimate that. And I think it's that service to others and just being able to witness that. And I just, like I say, for anybody that's not been able to witness that or take part in coaching somebody and seeing how it changes somebody, is really missing out. Yeah. So I just think, like, anybody and everybody at some point in their life should mentor or teach or coach somewhat and experience that.
And also be coached themselves.
Yeah, because that's a different ball game.
I think it goes back to, even though you're a coach, I'm a coach, that doesn't mean that we don't need coaches. 100%. Everybody needs a coach. I have you doing my programming in the gym because, 1, I ain't got time to do it myself. 2, I need somebody to keep me accountable. 3, I value your expertise and knowledge. But that helps me set a standard for myself and somebody else to hold me to that standard. Yeah. And I think for me, going through my life coaching course, we have peer-to-peer coaching, and I've since reached out to other coaches and said, can you give me an ad hoc life coaching session? I'm not precious to say, my mindset's not great all the time. Nobody's is. Nobody's is. But I'm in a position now where I'm able to recognise when I'm struggling with my mindset, and I do something about that. And I think the power of coaching is just absolutely phenomenal. Like, when I came home to you and spoke to you after that coaching session, I went in feeling like I've got this sense of dread. I don't know what's going on. I felt a bit fight or flight mode, and I knew I needed to figure it out. I'd been journaling, couldn't figure it out on my own. I've been taking time out to walk, try and think it through, couldn't figure it out. After an hour with my life coach, I was like, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. Yeah. And that led me to have a conversation with you where you then understood how I felt, and like it honestly, I just can't sell the value enough.
Yeah, 100% agree.